Welcome to the PLZ Vault, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards.
It's funny you say you refer to him as a man. I still see him as a boy. Oh. But no, listen, Lennon's a good kid, a really good kid. He always has been. And he's just doing his thing. And he's playing the way he's played all his career, which is quite funny for me to say that. But through the academy, he just played with a smile on his face, got on with it and just loves the game of football.
What was the point where you thought he definitely had a chance? Where is it a kind of sliding doors moment where you think, because obviously at a certain age you think if you're in an academy structure you think all these kids maybe have the potential to go on and make it at a first team level, but you would have an insight more than most parents would have about what it actually takes?
Yeah, I don't think there was a sliding doors moment. Lennon's always been, he was 6 days old when I signed with Aberdeen, so he's always studied the game. See, like some kids go to football and they'll go on their phones and whatever. He didn't have that. He just concentrated in the game, watched the game, and he's been a student of the game for so many years. But even in the players' lounge, I tell this story so many times, if you didn't have a ball in the players' lounge with him, because you had to get in there after the games and stuff, if you didn't have a ball, you had to scrumple up a bit of paper for him to volley, to catch in the half volley, and just, he's always been football daft. Everywhere you went, you had to have something that resembled a football. So in terms of sliding doors moment, no, not really, because he's always just been constantly at it, constantly practicing. He still, to this day, walks about the house and he'll kick the ball off the wall and stuff like that, and he'll mess about with the football with his wee brother. So no, it's not that aspect of it. He's been in different environments than me, been at so many clubs, and I've been allowed, I've been really fortunate to have so many good managers that's allowed him to come in and kind of experience environments, suss out the good eggs from the bad eggs, as they say, and that's probably stood him in good stead, getting into a first team environment, getting into a first team dressing room. He understands how a dressing room works, because it can be a really hostile environment to go into, especially as an academy player as well. But Lennon's been lucky enough to go into a kind of model set up where they'll respect him, they'll understand how good he is, but he doesn't boast about it or anything like that. He's kind of level-headed and just does his thing, really.
Do you feel as though like so much of it is about mentality, having the right mentality, rather than, obviously talent is a huge part of it, having all the attributes required to go and make the grade at a professional level, but do you feel as though it's his mentality that's been just as important?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'll look at how he conducts himself and stuff, and I always have done. And I think it sometimes goes down to how you're brought up and how you're kind of, the values you're taught and stuff when you're growing up. And he's a good support network around about him that's been really important. But I think away from it, all these players in the academies, they can all play football. But I think the other side of that is how they conduct themselves and how they approach games and how they approach the lead up to games and how they get themselves fully focused and ready to play, but play with a freedom and be relaxed on the pitch. I think that's really important. But no, all round he's just a good kid, and like holds himself really high and knows how good he is, but doesn't like show off in terms of that.
Retain the humility.
Yeah.
Because obviously he was a boy that people spoke about from a fairly young age, that people were quite excited about from a fairly young age, and you've seen all that. I mean, you would have known that in your own career, and you know, you hear names mentioned at youth team level who never quite fulfil the promise. Was that ever a fear for you?
No, because listen, I've been there and done it, albeit I was at Falkirk coming through, and I kind of wanted to start my journey in terms of playing as many first team games as possible and then kind of try and build up and kick on for there. And I think Lennon's probably took that on board. I've not drilled it into him, but he knows, like, he had a pathway there to get to the first team, and it was always said, listen, there is a pathway at Motherwell, because he started at Celtic, didn't really like him when he was young. He was 5 years old, 6 years old, and kind of was coming in after school and wasn't really enjoying it, and it was possibly too serious for that age with him. And I think it's important because you look at so many different players, they've all got their own pathways. There's no right or wrong, but Lennon just didn't suit that one, and then he came away, went to his boys' club, and then went to Motherwell, a bit naive and a bit kind of nervous going in, but hit the ground running. It was more a kind of boys' clubby feel. It was really, he had it off with a few players, and then that was him from there on in, about 7 years old, and he's always been there, and he's always seen that pathway. And I think it's important that the environment has to be right for a specific player. Every player suits a different environment, so they can't be right, this is the way. Everybody has to fit into that, because you see it in first team level. Some players will go to a club and they just don't click. It doesn't click for whatever reason. They just don't fit into that environment, and they can be a flop, as they say. But Lennon's been lucky enough to have good people around about him and flourish.
I feel as though Motherwell has been that ideal environment because you maybe don't have the same microscopic intensity that you do if you're coming through a Celtic or a Rangers. There's a massive amount of eyes, a huge amount of eyes on you immediately. Yeah,
listen, who's to say if he was at Rangers or Celtic he wouldn't have just flourished and went straight in the first team, but he's seen that pathway and thought, no, I'm going to stick this. There's always been talk about Rangers and Celtic being in for Lennon since he was 10, 11 years old. But we've always kind of maintained, listen, you're in the right place, you're thriving, and I think playing with a smile on your face and having people round about you that you trust and you enjoy playing football with is really important. Some can get kind of, what do you call it, sucked into the whole Old Firm, big club, yep, I want to go there, whether it's their parents, whether it's them, it's supported that team, and that's fine, and some people kick on and do really well, but I think the statistics of players making it and coming through and playing in the first team really early is very slim, to be honest. So Lennon's clocked up, 45, 46 appearances in the first team, which is great, and he's playing with men, and he's trusted as a first team player instead of being, he's an academy player, I'll not trust him with the ball, but he kind of dictates it, to be honest, and it's good to see that from my point of view as a dad.
Have you seen him mature as a player with those 45 first team games? Have you seen him mature just into that environment?
Yeah, when he first broke onto the scene, I could see a little bit he was hanging back, and he'll tell you that himself. But now, this season, even at the start of the season, just I could see his whole appearance and his kind of the way he held himself. He backs himself. He always has backed himself, but I think the fact that people round about him, the players round about him, actually trust him, and I think, you know what, he's a good player. He's more than holding his own, and I think he's got it's as if he's come back this season, pre-season, he's got a point to prove, and he thinks, you know what, I'm going to show you how good I am, kind of thing. And he's playing a slightly different position as well, which he's probably played most of the time throughout his academy days, albeit he kind of jumped back to centre half. I'd like him to try all the different positions, and he's good at the other positions as well. Probably best at sitting, dictating play, but he likes to get forward and he wants to add his goals and assist his game as well, which is good.
Has he moved into the first team dressing room yet?
He has, yeah, he has. And Glenn he'll just adjust and just get on with it, kind of thing. But no, I've no qualms with that at all. In terms of last season, he was still in the youth dressing room, and that I fully respect Stuart Kettleway and understand why he done that, because I think players can get, not that Lennon would, but can get carried away a little bit and can get sucked up in that environment. It's a hostile environment, the first team dressing room, and you can get
especially when you think you're 17.
Exactly. You're feeling as a man. He is a young man, but I just see him as a boy. There's
still a fragility at that age,
of course.
When you're going in.
I think obviously being in first team environments and dressing rooms myself has stood him in good stead for getting in there, and I know a few of the boys as well, and they understand who he is as a person and away from the side of who he is as a player.
You mentioned there that even as a kid he'd been linked with moves to Celtic and Rangers switching academy. Obviously, as gossip kind of tends to happen when you have players who are performing at elite level and you can identify them, but it's maybe a different kettle of fish then when you're doing it at first team level, and that chat becomes a bit more public and there's greater intensity around it, such as we've seen a wee bit in January, but certainly over the summer. How did he handle that, and what was your advice to him during that time? Because I imagine it could have the potential to be quite unsettling. Yeah,
that's the thing. He's not interested in going anywhere else just now, in terms of he wants to rack up as many games as possible. Yeah, that time will probably come, and he wants to play at the highest level, Lennon. But I go through different scenarios with him all the time and think, what if this happened? What if this could happen in different situations? And he's got ambition. He's got massive ambition. He wants to be a Scotland internationalist. He wants to play at the highest level, and the way he's going just now, he will do that. But there's no rush. There's no rush for that, and he understands that as well. But no, I just give him advice: just play football. Just go out and play and let your football do the talking. And what will be, and things happen for a reason. I strongly believe in that, and he's just level-headed, just doing what he's doing and showing everybody what a good player he is.